guys, my name's Chris Ryan. I'm here at RackUp+Go today. We're going to be doing an unboxing of this here Dometic CCF-T. This is designed for 2021 and up F-150s, and then we're going to be doing the install. Stick around. All right, without further ado, let's start unboxing. Got some nice cardboard formed around the unit, keep it from shaking. Right on top, you'll find your install manual, owner's manual, and then the drill cards. So this unit is going to require 2 holes, one in the front of the console, that's going to be for the exhaust fan, and then one in the rear, and that's going to be for the power point. Very similar to the GM bin. Fully wrapped in plastic. Inside, we're going to find a nice bubble wrap. This is going to have your closeout tray. It's also going to have a plug for the front fan hole, so if you ever do want to take the bin out, there is a plug to go in there. There's also the fan that plugs in. And then we've got 2 rubber bumpers that are going to go on the back side of the console that engage with these 2 tabs on the back of the refrigerator. And then there's your plugs for the 2 holes. All right guys, before we get into the install, let's talk about a few of the features and benefits of this Dometic CCF-T. The interior is going to hold 8 cans, 6 bottles. It is a compressor-based refrigeration system, so whether it's 105 degrees outside or 65 degrees, it is going to maintain a temperature inside of about 36 degrees Fahrenheit. This does remember the last setting, so if this was on when you turn your truck off, when you turn your truck back on, this will turn back on. If it was off when you shut the truck off and you turn the truck back on, this is still going to remain off. The battery protection in this is set for 12 volts. So when this senses your truck battery gets down to 12 volts, it will go into standby mode. Won't be running any hydro electronics like the compressor or the fans. And then the other part about this is the powering scheme. So when we do install this bin, we are unplugging the factory harness from the 12 volt outlet in the back of the console, and that is going to plug into here. So if you have the expectation that that 12 volt outlet at the back of the console will still be powered, it is now going to be directed to this bin and powering the bin directly. All right, with all that covered, let's get into the install. All right, we've got the center console here in this 2022 Ford Raptor. This is the one with the interior work surface, so this folds out, provide a nice work surface for you. Inside, we've got our standard F-150 center console bin. And this is what the fridge is going to drop directly into. Those 2 rubber pieces I showed you earlier, those are actually going to clip right onto here to protect these surfaces. And there's actually 2 quarter turn locks that are going to lock the front of the fridge down and in this console. So if you are getting rowdy in your Ford Raptor, that fridge is going to stay right where it is. All right, some of the tools that are going to be required for this install, you're going to need a drill for drilling these hole saws into the console to make room for the fan and the power connector. You're going to need a 7mm socket, likely with an extension, to get into the cup holders in the rear, and there's a 7mm bolt that comes off so you can pull off the back panel. A Phillips head, this is going to be used to tighten the quarter turn fasteners. An 1.1/8" hole saw bit, this is going to be used for the power connector hole. 2.5" hole saw bit, this is used for the fan. And then a T20 Torx, whether it's a screwdriver, if you've got an electric drill like this is going to be used to take off the bottom side covering of the console lid. That's going to make it a little bit easier for the bin to fit into the console. All right, to get started with this install, we're going to first start by removing this console back panel. This is where the 12 volt power plug is. If you've got heated seats, there's heated seat buttons there. And then below that is USB ports and the AC outlet. So start by removing this rubber cover. Front here, there's a 7mm hex head bolt that we're going to loosen up and fully remove. And there's that bolt. You can set that right there. Next, we're going to start by removing the console back panel. This, I like to grab down at the bottom and just pull. Just little plastic clips holding this thing in. It'll pop right off. And then we've got all these electrical connectors back here. The one that we're after is this one right here. This is going to the 12 volt socket, and this gray connector, this is what's going to plug directly into the bin. So for this one, to remove it, you're going to be pushing down at the bottom of the connector to depress that tab, and then it comes out just like this. All right, so we're on the back side of the console now. I've removed some of the clips from the wires, unplugged a couple of the other wires like the heated seat buttons, And now we're going to be lining up our power cord hole template. That'll follow the lines of the console right here. That's right where we want to put this power cord hole. We're just going to take the tip of this drill bit, mark the center of that hole, and now we drill. All right, so now we're going to take our drill bit, find that hole, and mark, center mark, and go nice and easy. All right, we're moving to the inside of the console now. This is where we're gonna drill the hole for the exhaust fan. So we do have this template here. The hole is going to be closer to the driver's side. And this should fit right down in here, kind of follow the contours of the bin. And then we're gonna take our other drill bit, the 1 1/8, so that's what we have available, and mark the center of this. We can start drilling. And one thing I do wanna mention, that is a really good tip, especially for Ford Lightning owners and really anybody that's installing this. We do have a lot of electrical tape wrapped around here, and that's to prevent the drill bit from penetrating too far into the console. For Ford Lightning owners, you do have a Bluetooth low energy module right at the front of this that is used for phone as a key. And the position of this hole we've designed specifically to avoid that Bluetooth low energy module. So you're going to want to be paying close attention to where that is going to be marked and drilled. And then to keep the drill bit from going in too far, we've got this electrical wrap that's going to be preventing it from punching all the way through and potentially grabbing wires or nicking something else that's underneath there. And there we go. All right, so the next part of this install, we're gonna remove this bottom fascia piece on the bottom of the console. To do that, there's a T20 Torx screw right here. You're just gonna zip that out. And you can grab from the bottom and start to release the clips. Much like the back panel, that's gonna have these plastic clips. Then when you get to the top, you're gonna wanna depress the button to open the console. Make sure these two teeth are pushed all the way in order to get it to fully release. Now that gives us a little bit extra room for bringing that console bin down in there. All right, for this next step, we're gonna be putting in the fan into our 2.5 inch front hole. So here's the fan. It's got little plastic snaps on it, so this is just going to press right in. And then I like to take this little connector and there's this little tray here. You can kind of set that there, wedge it in there so it holds its spot. And then we have our rubber pieces, and these are gonna go on the back side of the console. All right, so now we're just gonna be verifying power. So here's the connector from the body harness, and this is going to be inserting into the fridge harness near that clip. And then we're going to turn the accessory ignition on so all the accessories work, and then we'll power this bin up. All right, so we've got our accessory power on. We can see our little snowflake is now lit up. We're going to go ahead and poke that. It's now turning blue, and our LED lights on the inside. The fan starting. So we know we do have power, so we're good to go there. All right, now we've brought the bin over. If you're looking for a useful feature to fold that shifter down, this is a good time to fold that shifter down because you can set the console fridge right on top of the shifter and the cup holders and everything. So now we're going to be taking our power plug and plugging it into the 1 1/8 hole that's at the back of the console. So we've got our connector here. A little bit of a stretch. I'm going to be just popping that right in there. Move the fridge a little bit closer here. So that will fit pretty tight. And now we can start lowering the fridge down into the console. can see we've got a bit of a tight fit towards the back. That's why we removed that interior panel off. Now we'll lower the console fridge right in. And there it is. We'll get our closeout tray. That'll close out this area. We'll pull our connector up for the exhaust fan. We can make that connection now. So tuck that into our little tray here. This is going to plug in there. So now our exhaust fan's powered. And there is a little zip tie here. You can cinch that down, tuck the wire back through, get it organized. And then these are the quarter turn fasteners. So we'll loosen these up a little bit. There's a little window here so you can actually see that this tab is engaging with the front rail. And this is also to help you get a finger in there to kind of guide it into position, but they will lock out at the 90-degree angle so that they do catch that rail, and that'll keep it nice and secure. All right, so we've got our bin fully seated. Our quarter turn fasteners are turned around. So I'm just gonna push down on this front rail here and start turning these until they're snug. And same thing with this side. Pushing down, make sure it stays engaged. Tighten until it's snug. There we go. We're gonna get our top closeout tray and we'll pop that in next. All right, here's the top closeout tray. This is gonna fit in here just like this. And just push down. It'll snap into place. Everything's seated. Take off our protective coverings for the logos. And then we'll start reassembling the bottom of this. So to reassemble this bottom cover back on here, I'm just gonna kind of line it up. You can depress that opening button. Help ease getting it all snapped in. Just make sure everything's clicked in, snapped on. And then we'll take that T20. We'll thread that in by hand, get a few turns on it. Grab our drill. Good to go. All right, we're now at the back of the console ready to make our power connection. Here's our connector. That's gonna plug right into here. Now you notice this vehicle does have rear heated seats. This does mean this has this extra connector up here. And this actually is gonna have a hard time reaching once we put all this back. So if you do have rear heated seats, you may need to peel back some of this Tesa tape on the harness in order to give yourself enough slack so that this can be plugged into the heated seat module, and this can be plugged into the bottom of the bin. All right, so we got our back panel lined up here. These little tabs are just gonna be going into these slots. Kind of like to start with the bottom, get the left and the right sides done, and then work your way up towards the top. And you may need to push down on the top just a little bit where that screw goes in, and then everything will snap in place. And then we'll take our 7mm hex head and we're gonna drop that down in and tighten that up. All right guys, we got the center console fridge all installed. We do have it loaded up. We've got 6 bottles, which is its max capacity. It's getting nice and cold in here, so we are ready to roll. All right guys, that concludes this install. If you have any questions about this install or the CCFT in general, please reach out to customer care at RackUp+Go. And remember, life's an adventure. Rack up and go.